Right, everyone. So it looks like we know where WrestleMania 42 is going to be. This is from WrestlingNews.com. WWE is reportedly returning to New Orleans for WrestleMania 42 in 2026. WrestleVotes reported today that the company plans to announce WrestleMania 42's location, the Superdome in New Orleans, before WrestleMania 41 this April. The exact announcement date is unclear. The tweet reads, sources indicate WWE is planning on announcing WrestleMania 42's location prior to this year's event, with the highly speculated New Orleans, LA as the host city. The Superdome, Silverdome brother, home of WrestleMania 30 and 34, is set to host its third Mania in 2026. The first WrestleMania held in New Orleans was WrestleMania Triple X 30 in 2014. It featured The Undertaker's streak being broken by Brock Lesnar and Daniel Bryan's world title win. They returned 4 years later for WrestleMania 34 in 2018. That event saw Ronda Rousey's WWE debut, teaming with Kurt Angle to defeat Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. Daniel Bryan's in-ring return with Shane McMahon against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE Universal Championship in the main event. So, hey, I mean, this seems like it's going to be, this will be a pretty good place. There is some recent history of WrestleManias being there, so that's pretty cool. I'm just hoping that whatever happens at WrestleMania 41, it's similar to what we saw in WrestleMania 40, where it builds so much excitement for the next year, what we may see at the next WrestleMania. And I hope we get that, and I don't know why they're making the announcement before this WrestleMania. Maybe they're just like, hey, we're going to get it started early. People get pumped about it. But I hope we get to see that. I hope maybe The Rock does something that sets us on a path where we're like, oh my God, this year is going to be fantastic, because next December, there's going to be a little bit of like a reset because John Cena is going to be gone for good, right? He's going to be out of wrestling. And I mean, he may still show up for appearances, but he's not going to actually be in ring anymore. And so there's probably going to be a little bit of a reset. And I'm hoping, my hope is it's Rock Roman. I really hope that's the storyline they're building, but we will have to see. So thank you all for watching. All right, everyone. So we have an update on the potential main event of WrestleMania. This is from Sportskeeda's Backstage Pass. WrestleVote Radio on Sportskeeda's Backstage Pass. Continuing with more context on Tuesday night's Sportskeeda show with Bill Apter regarding WrestleMania main event plans, we know that some in WWE would prefer a three-way match between Cody Rhodes, John Cena, and CM Punk as opposed to the rumored singles match between Rhodes and Cena and the rumored triple threat match between Punk, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns. According to a source, those feelings are not shared by everyone, with the expectation of this match being that it will not happen. We can confirm the Mania card is still being completed in totality. However, the high-level matches are likely set. So TC, the meat and potatoes of this little nugget, is that there are people that want Rhodes versus Cena versus Punk. However, it doesn't seem like everybody wants it, and those people who don't want it look to be holding the power. So we talked about how it was kind of shocking. I looked at the responses to their tweet. People actually were more excited about that match, which was a little shocking to me, to be completely honest with you. I want to have the one-on-one, but people, they like this triple threat. So my guess is maybe the WWE Universe could get them to change this potentially if it is something that's widespread. But I just think triple threat match eh, they dilute things. It's like it doesn't mean there's never a time when you could have a cool triple threat match. I think there are instances where that's the case, but if you're having a title match that will Cena become, you know, uh, will he make history? I just think having it not just Cena versus Cody Rhodes dilutes that, in my opinion. And at the end of the day, I think this is really a story of The Rock kind of screwing over. And I'm not saying he meant to or anything or that he's at fault with this, but it's kind of The Rock screwing over WWE. Because if he was coming to WrestleMania and he was going to fight, and I guess we don't know it confirmed yet, 100%, but it looks unlikely that he's going to have a match. You'd have Roman Reigns versus The Rock, CM Punk versus Rollins, and then Cena versus Cody, and that would be three. Because a lot of people, when I was reading it too, they were like, "Hey, I don't like the triple threat. I want to see Roman versus Seth," and I kind of agree with that point too. But you still want CM Punk to have a big match, so WWE has their hands full making this work. At the end of the day, these are all going to be great, but man, kind of the inner workings of WWE. This is the battle that's going on. I wish these articles here, gave a little more insight onto why they think a triple threat would be better for that situation, but we will see. So thank you all for watching. All right, everyone. So Demolition has signed a Legends deal with WWE. This is from the Wrestling Observer. Legendary late 1980s tag team Demolition are reportedly under a WWE Legend slash nostalgia contracts, first reported by PW Insider. The original members, Bill Eadie and Barry Darzo, revealed last fall that they were invited to attend the WWE Hall of Fame ceremony for WrestleMania 40, but were unable to attend due to prior commitments. The two are not in the Hall of Fame, adding to speculation this could be the precursor to them being named for this year's class. The 77-year-old Edie Demolition Axe and 65-year-old Darshaw Demolition Smash made their WWE debut as a team in January 1987, eventually winning the then WWE Tag Team titles 3 times. Their 478-day reign from March 1988 to July 1989 still stands as the third longest in main roster history behind the Usos and the New Day. Edie, who competed for WWE as far back as 1983 as the Masked Superstar, last wrestled for WWE at the 1990 Survivor Series. Darsaw, who continued to team with Crush, Bryan Adams, and Demolition, eventually changed his character to Repo Man, ending his run in March 1993. So anybody who remembers, kind of wrestling from this time has a lot of love for Demolition. They're once again, these are just iconic tag teams, and WWE does such a good job now. And I think Triple H is almost even more like, he thinks about this even more of how you can kind of connect all the different generations of fans by signing a Legends deal with him. And just even if they appear at the Hall of Fame, if they're inducted in the Hall of Fame, if they appear on the show, even if they're not even speaking on the show, just being in the crowd, like just have that community, So now you get people that like the newer generation, you have people who like the Attitude Era generation, then you got people who like the really old generation of superstars, and it goes a long way. And the fact that you can honor these guys all these years later, when they have the third longest, tag team reign of all time, it's really something special. And I would love to see them more involved, but this just getting in the Hall of Fame would probably be great for them. So that's all that matters. So thank you all for watching. All right, everyone. So Eric Bischoff made a big prediction for The Rock at WrestleMania. Here's what he said. I still think The Rock is showing up. I do. I don't know how it's going to fit. I don't know where he's going to go. I don't have any idea what the story might be, but I will be surprised if Rock isn't somehow heavily involved. My instinct says Rock's coming back, so we'll see. Do I think that there'll be an official match with Bell? He's going to throw a monkey wrench into something. I just don't know what it is. WWE has done such a good job of mixing up the very top of the roster, so that's very hard to predict and anticipate. One of the things that always worked for me was believing that if you're creative successful at getting people to speculate, if you can get people to ask questions, you own them. So yeah, I do think the idea of Rock, because we've done various reports in this too, but the idea of Rock not appearing at WrestleMania at all, I think is definitely not the case. He will be there in some form, but I don't think there's going to be an official match. And I'm almost hoping at this point there's not an official match because there's just not a lot of time to build a needed storyline for that. Now you could do something with Romanness, like you could always easily build that storyline, but I still think they would want a longer period of time to build it up. I thought if they were going to have The Rock, be really a big part of WrestleMania, they had their chances, two chances at the Raw Netflix debut. You had the Cody Rhodes thing and you had the Roman Reigns thing. And in both of those cases, he could have done something. The next, you also could have sparked the new Bloodline storyline with Rock at the head. And there's a lot of things you could have done. But I think Bischoff makes a good point. WWE has, you know, this on this channel, I try to do my best to kind of predict some things that are going to happen or just give my thoughts on things I think should happen. And initially, I felt like I was doing a pretty good job of kind of following and like, the Rhea Ripley, Dominic Mysterio, Liv Morgan storyline. That was pretty predictable. It was still awesome when the heel turn happened. Or I guess it's not really a heel turn. It was still awesome when the stab in the back of Dominic Mysterio to Rhea Ripley happened, but it wasn't shocking that it happened. But then you have things like the New Day and how that went. Everybody kind of expected them to split. Nobody expected it to be Kofi and Xavier both splitting at the same time and becoming what they are now. That was a shock. You saw a storyline thing happening, but we were blown away by how good that was told. And so with Rock, we don't know what's going to happen. Maybe they are going to be setting something up for the next year's WrestleMania. They certainly have some semblance of a plan, and Rock keeps hinting that they have some semblance of a plan. So hopefully they do. Because right now the Rock storytelling is really all over the place, right? It's just it's crazy. It's everywhere. Um, one moment he's beating the crap out of Cody, next moment he's buddies with him. He's one moment this feels like they're going to be going between him and Roman doing something. The next moment he's putting the Ulafala on him. So there's just a ton of things that don't add up at this point, but they might make sense. And I think there's 100% certainty that he's there in some fashion. There's just almost no way he doesn't appear for one night. Do I think he's going to be, in a match? I think it's almost too late for that now because for someone like The Rock, why even waste a match when you can't build something properly? So thank you all for watching. All right, everyone. So there's a new mode that's in WWE 2K25 called the Island Mode. And this is from Inside the Ropes Wrestling. WWE 2K25 has launched the brand new The Island Mode with the March 7th early access the March 14th release date coming closer. Fans now have been given a closer look toward WWE 2K25, the Island Mode exclusive to PS5 and Xbox consoles. So I'm going to stop right here for 1 second. If you have it on PC, which is what we're going to be playing it on, you don't actually get this mode. The mode has been suggested as a brand new way to experience the upcoming WWE 2K game. In a recent video uploaded by the game's social media handle, wise man Paul Heyman can be seen elaborating on the mode's features and details. In this latest island mode, players can explore the themed districts, compete against other players, and take on exciting quests to win the favor of our tribal chief, Roman Reigns. In the island, players can explore 4 unique WWE themed districts, each with its distinctive atmosphere, challenges, and way to explore. One of the first districts is Hero HQ. The Hero HQ is a bastion of wrestling virtue, constantly under siege by villains. The Arcade of Tomorrow, a tech focused haven for gaming and pop culture enthusiasts. The Temple of Ancestors, celebrating Lucha Libre's heritage and wrestling legends. And the Deadlands, where players will be able to take on challenges, quests, and even matchmake with other online players. It also introduces an extensive character creation system through the My Superstar Builder, where players can craft their in ring persona with unprecedented details. Numerous customization options affect not only the visual presentation, but also the in ring capabilities of your superstar. The customization process allows for the definition of various categories: gender, background, archetype, weight class, and additional options, each affecting your My Superstar's attributes, minimum and maximum, badge availability, and access to payback features. The game supports up to 4 different character saves, allowing for varied playstyles and experimentation. The player customization section also gives players access to multiple well known brands such as Nike, Jordan, WWE Shop, and others as in game gear. Participation in matches, quests, and challenges yields experience points and virtual currency, which players can then invest in attributes and badges. The story in this mode is driven by quests and is scattered throughout the game map. 5 playable chapters comprise the exploration of the island, each incrementally revealing information about Roman Reigns' challenge and the island, while players attempt to satisfy the tribal chief. Each quest features extensive P versus E content designed to assemble and challenge players' abilities as they ascend the ranks. The island mode also features the game's multiplayer and online section, improving from last year's online mode. This year's is robust, supporting up to 50 players per server. Friends can join the same server and explore together and engage in real time competitions through matchmaking portals scattered throughout the districts. Each victory or defeat contributes to their standing in the community and progression in the game's 5 chapter narrative. This mode will be available to access once the game launches on March 7th and is only available for new gen on PS5 and Xbox Series X. All right, so that's the whole article. Go check out this website. It's fantastic. Inside the Ropes Wrestling, or itrwrestling.com. But here's the thing with this. Now, you read through this, and there is some interesting parts of it, okay? And it's pretty cool, right? When you get, okay, there you could make your own character. It's a PvE type deal, and it's something fresh for a wrestling game. My problem is that it really scares me when you have a company like 2K who's doing the island mode. It feels like something where they're like, okay, we're going to try to creep in more of the stuff we've brought into the NBA games into this. And I just think people are going to start getting pissed at this because, much like you've seen with Madden and with NBA, people get frustrated because this is a fine mode, right? It may end up being a very good mode, but it's not what people want from a wrestling game. And so if you could deliver on everything in the wrestling game and you have the island mode, no problem. Have as many island modes as you want, as long as you could deliver. on what the people actually want, which is all of that single player content, including the online portion, which is like character creation, community creations, and making sure you could still have your regular online matches. So I don't know what this is going to be. If this is going to be any good, I'm probably going to have to now buy this on the Xbox as well, so we could play both. But I'm going to see before I do any coverage of it if it's any good. And once again, not to sound like like an old guy or something, but even with NBA, I used to be a big time NBA 2K player, but to me the problem really came down to, for me, I loved my player mode, and I loved my player mode because it was simple and it was like you created a player, you go through the ranks, you upgrade your guy with the skill points you get, and then boom, by like you could I used to in like 2K10 and 2K11, 2K12, I would play like 3 or 4 seasons because and then they would add little bits like, oh cool, you could say something at a press conference, you could do this, you could do that. Now you play my player and it's like you have to do all the things that you don't want to do in real life. Like you now have to you get an endorsement and you have to go film the commercial or something. Like that's what people in real life don't want to do. All they want to do is be playing basketball. They don't want to go do the endorsements. They want the money. And there's so many outside things that affect it with, now it's not really the skill points, right? Now you're using the VC to do stuff. And I haven't played the most recent one. I just know it's like that. I don't know what their currency is to upgrade. My guess is it's still VC, but it's annoying. And I hope they're not bringing that to WWE because I'll be honest with you, you saw what Call of Duty did with Warzone, and I thought this was brilliant. What Call of Duty did with Warzone is you have two separate games basically. So Warzone, which is the online component, or I mean I know there's also the regular online, but it's this newer version. They have their own separate game for that, that it just exists. So if this island mode is something that they really are like, hey, we want to do this long term, then separate it from the actual game and put it out on its own. But don't continue every year now to add more to the island mode within this game and take away stuff from the main game. We don't want that. The island mode is the secondary thing. That it's the secondary thing. What we want is to make sure that the My GM mode's good, the universe mode is good, that all the creative aspects of these WWE games are free. There should never be in any WWE game a single cent that has to be paid in game for you to create characters. If there's going to be paid stuff in the island mode, I don't care. None of it none of it should be paid in the single player version because community creations is everything. And by the way, don't stick stuff in that mode that is also considered like, oh, we're gonna put something in the island mode here that you can't get in the actual game if it's cool. I mean, if it's just a shirt, I don't really care about it. But if it's something that's like you can't create one of the other wrestlers, like you can't create a legend for community creations unless you pay for it in the island mode, we don't want that. So, this is one of those things where I don't want to just prejudge it to be bad. It could be really fun, but it's one of those things that you have to make sure that you add this on top of a game that people already want. So if WWE 2K25 is the best game in the series or an improvement over 2K24, and you have the island mode attached that people like, no problem with it. And you could keep expanding the island mode as much as you want, as long as each game that comes after delivers on the main component of it, which is that normal game that we've had since the beginning of time for wrestling games. And this is a scary thing because I think 2K they stepped in it obviously in 2K20, but I love 2K24 and I think they've kind of dug themselves out of that hole and everything I've seen so far on 2K25 is good. It just scares me when you get these type of modes. But maybe this is a new mode that is just so amazing and people love it. And if that's the case, then look towards, kind of that Warzone method of, hey, we're going to keep this, it's almost separate from the game. You could keep playing this thing. We're not going to, and then we update it every 2, 3 years instead of updating it each year. I think that'd be pretty cool. So we're going to give it a chance. But if it stinks or if it starts taking over and becomes a microtransaction fest, that if it's a microtransaction fest on its own, I don't really care. If it affects the rest of the game, it's a major issue. All right, everyone. So, according to a new report, R-Truth is moving to SmackDown. This is from WrestlingNews.com. PW Insider reports that R-Truth has been moved to SmackDown brand. Although WWE has yet to announce his move, they were told that he will be part of SmackDown brand moving forward. He will now join his former tag team partner, The Miz, on the Blue brand. Nearly a year ago, they won the tag team titles at WrestleMania XL. So I love our truth. I really have so much, respect for someone like our truth, whose character, every time they come on the screen, despite the fact that they're, it's a joke, right? Everything he's doing is a joke. The fans love it, and he plays the storyline so well. And I feel like newer people to WWE, they don't remember when our truth, when he first started coming up with the what's up, that in his entrance song, he was over like crazy. And it's just crazy to me that even though I mean, he still is over like crazy. The fans love everything he does. And I hope they can keep that, but get him a little bit more of a push, get him, it's kind of crazy. They have him tracking Miz now. He's back. So maybe they're going to try to put Miz and our truth back on the team together. That'd be pretty cool. Just in time for WrestleMania. The tag team division could use some new guys. Maybe that's what they decide to do. But our truth is on SmackDown. He has switched brands. So thank you all for watching. All right, everyone. So while speaking to Chris Van Fleet, Carlito talked about the difference between Triple H's leadership and Vince McMahon's. Here's what he had to say. I don't want to sound like a suck up, right? If you say something bad when you're not with the company, you're bitter. If you say something good, you're a suck up. I enjoy the Triple H era 20 times more than I do the Vince McMahon era. Yeah, I think what he's doing, he's done a youth movement, which wasn't, they didn't have that in the past. It doesn't really help me out now, but I appreciate that's the way the business should be going. So, there's just a lot of wrestlers who really like how Triple H is, you know, operating now. And it's always a little bit unfair. And you got to obviously take all the legal stuff that Vince is dealing with, because that's a whole nother thing. So we're going to take all that out, and that's not what we're talking about. But I do think that with Vince, when you're someone who built the company in the way he did, right? And you're stretching all the way back to the 80s and you continue to just build and build and build. Um, I think when you're someone who built the company for that long, at some point when you're no longer, like just the times changing, it's tough to kind of change with them. And I think Triple H is the perfect kind of guy to take over the role, because he was able to change with the times here. And what I mean by that is because he was a wrestler and he was under Vince, in that sense, and he's been on the other side of it now in management. He can see both sides. He understands when you talk about a youth movement, he understands how, number one, how tough it is for a superstar who's not getting an opportunity, or, who isn't getting a shot, or it feels like they're buried or something like that. He understands that frustration. He understands the injuries that they're facing and how they're feeling after long road trips and all of that kind of stuff. And that just helps you. It gives you a different perspective. Whereas Vince, what he remembers a lot of the time is from, when so you start out with, in Hogan, and you have this huge era, it's just fantastic, and then it hits kind of a brick wall, and now you're fighting for your life against WCW. So that time in the company was so much different than it is now. And I don't know if Vince, and I don't have any inside knowledge of this, it's just going off everything, that people within the company are saying. It just seems like Vince never really understood that transition. He was still kind of stuck in that other mindset. And the fact that Carlito brings up, hey, there's a youth movement here now, I think that's a telling statement where, that's kind of the key. And that's one of the reasons WWE beat WCW. Like, that's kind of the shocking thing, that Vince wasn't able to make that transition, because the reason WWE beat WCW was because of the youth movement, and they were forced into it, right? When you have Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Hulk Hogan, when you have all these guys now in WCW, Bret Hart, right? And all of these guys who you built as stars are now in WCW, you got to go out and find your own stars. And they were able to do that with Triple H, The Rock, Mick Foley, Steve Austin. Some of those guys, like, especially someone like Mick Foley, he was obviously kind of a star even before, because he was in ECW and other places, but they built them, and they saved the company. So it's interesting to hear how Carlito and other people are talking about the difference between the two. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.